Now to the latest story about COVID-19, whereas Indonesia makes a good COVID-19 vaccination progress. Health Minister Budi Gunadi Sadikin stated that there were around 16.5 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines injected.
Just 2 weeks ago, Indonesia has injected 10 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines. However, yesterday, Minister Budi Gunadi has recorded that there were around 16.5 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine injected. According to him, this makes Indonesia one of the fastest countries to inject COVID-19 vaccine, especially for countries that do not produce their own vaccines. The injections capacity has increased 500,000 a day. However, Ramadan has made it into decrease to around 250,000 to 300,000 a day. Even so, this is in line with conditions, whereas there is a problem in the vaccine supply. From all sources, IDX Channel.
Global economic recovery is in front of our eyes. Activity in many sectors has picked up and adapted to the pandemic restrictions over recent months. And of course, thanks to faster and effective vaccinations rollout, vaccine distributions is gaining momentum as COVID-19 vaccinations program is in a full swing. According to the Minister of Health, Indonesia is one of the fastest countries to inject COVID-19 vaccines, especially for countries that do not produce their own vaccines. Well, at least not yet. And let's see how the progress so far through the next graphic. Here it is, we can see the development of Indonesia's vaccinations, which is in 27th January. We can see that in the first doses, it only gave away around 308,000 doses, while for the second doses, it's only like 66 doses of vaccines. But however, if we take a look at April 7th, it requires 9 million doses of the first doses. And then for the second doses, it requires around 4.6 million doses. And the latest move that we got from the government is that by the April 18th, the vaccinations for the first doses hit 10 million doses. And this with achievement, Indonesia managed to occupy the 8th positions in the country that scored the most vaccination achievements in the world. And the mass vaccinations program has been running according to the target set, which is 10 million vaccinations per month. And the daily injections reaching around 500,000. Well, if we calculate it, it is approximately 2.5 million doses a week or 10 million doses a month. But then Health Ministry set higher target for the upcoming months. So let's see the details in the next graphic. Through the next graphic, we can see the injections target. By March to April, government target by 500,000 doses to be delivered to the community, while from May to June, the government has set up new target by 750,000 doses to community, and while for July, government targets around 1 million doses to be distributed to the community. And then the pace of the economic recovery in Indonesia in 2021 really hooked on the pace of COVID-19 vaccinations. It projects that doubling the number of vaccine doses administered daily to 1 million would create jobs and boost GDP. But then that was a scenario without something hampers vaccine availability. For example, embargo. And if embargo is too obvious, there is one thing that may cause slow vaccinations. It is the Ramadan season. Well, the Health Ministry spokespersons on COVID-19 vaccinations, Siti Nadia Tarmizi, say that the daily trends in vaccinations during Ramadan decreased. So let's see the comparisons in the next graphic. Here it is. Through the next graphic, we can compare from the regular month to the Ramadan season. In regular month, it should be 500,000 doses. And then in Ramadan, it is only around 250,000 doses to be given to the community. Well, there is a decline in the number of injections per day in April. So there is also a drop in doses administered because perhaps it still adapts to the new conditions as it is the beginning of the fasting. And based on the ministry's data, the average number of doses administered in the archipelago is only around 200,000 to 250,000 per day during Holy Month. And downward trend in injections was also attributable to the limited supply of vaccine doses. For example, in March, the country vaccine stock reached around 18 million. But then, sadly, it went down to around 7 to 15 million doses in April. But then government plans to formulate domestic COVID-19 vaccines. So later on, Indonesia will not be dependent on the imported vaccines. So let's see the next graphic about the institutions that are developing Indonesia's COVID-19 vaccines. We got some institutions in here. First of all, Airlangga University, Eichmann Institute for Molecular Biology, and Indonesian's Institute of Science, Gajah Mada University, University of Indonesia, and Bandung Institute of Technology. And yes, the development of the Merah Putih vaccine is one of the innovations that has been regulated by the government in Presidential Decree number 18 of 2020 concerning the National Team for COVID-19 Vaccine Development Accelerations. So yes, viewers, the speed of vaccinations is not only for pursuing the target, but also depending on the availability of the vaccine itself. As higher education and research institutions in Indonesia is now developing COVID-19 vaccines, so hopefully domestic vaccines can cover all the needs, and later on Indonesia can be less dependent to the imported vaccines. And yes, still people who are fully vaccinated against COVID-19 should keep taking precautions in public spaces like wearing masks and staying apart from others, avoiding crowds and poorly ventilated spaces, and washing your hands often. Stay with us because market headlines will be right back after this quick break.